We are back with you live once again on another Johnny Torch live broadcast. Here we are on the final day of August 2019. Can you believe that? Summer is nearly over. We have Labor Day weekend upon us, and what better way than to spend it here on Johnny Torch Live, broadcast number 171, Torch News Roundup number 149, on the only way to spend your Saturday here with us on the Johnny Torch Live program. I accidentally, I uploaded the video for last week with the wrong title. I titled it 171 by accident, but I'm not going to retitle it. Just for clarification purposes, I just wanted to mention that this is the 171st broadcast and the 149th Torch News Roundup. So, hopefully you are enjoying your Labor Day weekend. I know I am. We don't have a lot of topics again, but I'm sure we will make the best of the hour talking about all the news there is fit to speak of in pop culture, comic book related, some sci-fi stuff, mostly Star Wars. I kind of tout myself as a sci-fi fan, but to be honest with you, basically, it's got to have star in the title. It's either Star Wars or Star Trek, and even Star Trek, I'm not really an aficionado, I suppose. But we are going to talk about the new Joker trailer, the final Joker trailer, I believe it'll be, because the movie will be out in a couple of weeks. And when I did a full, half-hour video on the first Joker trailer, I got 0 views, so I don't know how well this this video is going to go over in the analytics, but we're still, it's part of the job description. We got to talk about it. We got some images from Birds of Prey, and a few other topics that may or may not tickle thy fancy. First off, we want to do some house cleaning as always. Check out the link in the description below. We gotta sell some soap here. We want to push The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. The image you are seeing here on your screen is the cover of the graphic novel version and the final installment of the When the Night Comes story arc. It is about the teaming up of Carrot Top and Pencil Neck, two of Bullets Bourbon's most lethal and dangerous villains, as they attempt to take over the United States of America and the whole entire world, in fact. But you gotta crawl before you can walk, as they say. Bullets also comes into contact with his old rival, Detective Scotch, as you see him there on the right-hand side of the frame. And he falls in love with beautiful starlet Desiree Miller, just to his right, our left. And, it's a story of adventure, excitement, and intrigue, as Bullets goes undercover at the casino owned and operated by Sour Note, which you can't see in this image, but also another deadly villain. So basically we've got 4 villains here. We got Pickle Puss, who's sort of the henchman for Carrot Top. He's a big softy, though. He's not really too much of a threat to anybody but himself. And it's quite the insurmountable odds I've placed our protagonist up against this time. And it really is, of all the stories I've written, one of my favorite stories. I mean, like I've said before, a lot of writers kind of have the de facto answer, well, I love all my stories, they're like my children. And it's true. I mean, there's something about every story that I love. But this story really does feel like, the ultimate expression. This is what I was trying to really go for in a comic. You have the villain team up, you have unrequited love, you have the comical banter between Bullets and Scotch. So it's really the full picture. It's really the full experience of Bullets Bourbon, everything I wanted it to be. There's action, excitement, some drama, and of course the fight to the finish between Bullets and Pencil Neck, and I'm sure that is the penultimate moment there in the issue. So check out The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. The link is in the description below. You can check out a few free preview pages that I've got up there on the website. We are also going to be at Granite State Con September 14th and 15th, so we are really looking forward to that in about 2 weeks. 2 weeks' time, we will be there with a lot of goodies. I'm trying to come up with more novel goodies to give away for people. I've got the magnets. I still got the magnets because they seem to be a favorite. Kids like magnets a lot, you know, put them on the fridge. And I find that they're worth the money because, you know, I give them away as freebies, but they're expensive to make. But with stickers and stuff, you figure they're going to get thrown out or stuff when you stick it on something and then something ends up getting thrown away. But with a magnet, you pretty much have, you know, I don't want to say a lifetime appointment, but you got a lot of advertising on the refrigerator for many years to come. So it's also another reason why I like to invest in the magnets. We got posters, we got other things that you may or may not find interesting. So stop by and check out. I'm going to be at table F9, I believe, if I remember correctly. I always forget the table designations, but I wrote it down this time, so I think it's F9. So if you find the corresponding map of the surrounding area, be sure to check out Bullets Bourbon and his exploits. Also, check out the link in the description below for our Twitter page, and you can check out all the nonsense I get myself into on Twitter. Some of it flattering, some of it not so much, but it's all genuine Johnny Torch. Alright, so as always, I got the chat room open in case there are any interesting and titillating questions to be asked of yours truly. I will try to answer them all. And let's have a good time. Let's go. Let's have at it, huh? Shall we? Here we go. Let's take a look at our first story. We're going to talk about Venom 2. Now, a couple of weeks ago, or was it last week, we talked about Andy Serkis getting the gig as director for Venom 2. Cinematographer Robert Richardson talked with Collider about Venom 2, and here's what he had to say. I was looking forward to entering into that arena with Batman years ago with Ben Affleck. I thought, well, this is something I haven't done and I'd love to try to do. So, wait a second, time out here. I guess he was the one that was going to do the Batman back when Ben Affleck was going to be the director. He was going to be the cinematographer of the Batman back when it was Affleck's gig, I guess. And then Andy Serkis, who I worked with on Breathe, gave me a call a month ago and said that he was up for this, and would I be willing? I'd seen the film. I watched it again, and they sent me a script, and I felt like, yeah, I'd say yes anyway to Andy, just because I'd say yes to Andy. But I also think it's a great, he continued, I think it's unexplored yet, and it's going to explode. And this film, I think, will help it explode, because you have a remarkable central character with Venom, but now you've got Woody Harrelson, who's going to obviously make his own little entrance here, and we'll see what else comes in with the Sony-Marvel collaboration. I look forward to it. It's a massive change for me, but I'm excited. I think Hardy is one of our best. He never misses. I so look forward to sitting with him and watching him perform. So, sounds pretty exciting, sounds pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to Venom 2 because I think they set the table pretty well with the first Venom for a pretty exciting sequel. Of course, we have Woody Harrelson already synced up, ready to go, lined up. And I think he's a good choice. I think he'd be fun in the role. I have a feeling they're probably going to scrap that end credits tag, though. It's one of those things where it's like, well, let's put it in the movie just so we convince the viewers, yeah, don't worry about it. We're going to do Carnage, and we already cast a big-name actor to play him. But I think it's one of those things like the MCU credits where 90% of the time it doesn't quite work out that way. You know, like the tag for the Incredible Hulk with Tony Stark didn't amount to a hill of beans. What was it? The one in Thor where Loki is like manipulating Selvig. You know, it really didn't reflect on the finished product of Avengers. So I have a feeling it's kind of going to be something like that. But who knows? Who's to say? And let me know what you think in the comments below. How do you feel about Venom 2? Are you excited? Do you think that, you know, Tom Holland's Spider-Man might make an appearance? Is this going to set up a Spider-Man? Well, I suppose it would set up a Venom 3, not really a Spider-Man 3. I think they have to deal with the fallout of, you know, the Far From Home cliffhanger before they could actually put Venom in a Spider-Man 3. But you know, they could set up a Venom 3 with a cameo of Tom Holland. I believe Tom Holland was supposed to have a cameo in the first film, in Venom 1, and Disney made them cut it because they didn't want connectivity, because of course that was the deal they were trying to make. They were trying to, you know, I don't want to say force, but basically they were trying to force Sony to go 50-50 on all their projects, be it, you know, Venom, Morbius, whatever, that Disney would take a cut, and, you know, 50% cut, and then swing it into the MCU. Sony was like, nah, no thanks. We'll do without you, thank you. But, you know, and you know, people have varied opinions. I don't think, you know, I think Sony would have been crazy to agree to that, to be quite honest. And I think Disney, for their part, pretty much didn't care if they lost Spider-Man. I don't think they care. I think they want to ruin the rest of the MCU and not focus on ruining Spider-Man anymore. But that's just my opinion. That's one man's opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I guess that's all there is to say about this one. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. I enjoyed the first movie, so there's no reason to believe that it won't be as entertaining in the sequel. Okay, we've had that long gestating Flash movie. That sounds pretty nasty. I don't like that term, long gestating. But how long? Like I said, I always refer back to this live stream I did, I don't know, must be a year ago now, where I just lined up each and every incident from, I guess, Batman v Superman to last year, where all the directors and screenwriters came and went, and we still have no clue when the Flash movie is going to debut, but we are inching closer once again to the possibility. Now, let's see. The Flash movie lost directors John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein, but gained Andy Muschietti. I want to see, as a fellow Italian, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing his name right. Andy Muschietti. I think that's how you pronounce it. The It Chapter 2 filmmaker seemed reluctant to speak about the project when quizzed about it at San Diego Comic-Con, but has now confirmed his involvement. While speaking to Fandango, Muschietti revealed that The Flash will indeed be his next movie, but fans of the director's previous work shouldn't expect to see any of his horror sensibilities reflected in the adventures of the Scarlet Speedster. An element of horror? I don't think so. What captivated me about The Flash is the human drama in it. The human feelings and emotions that play in the drama of it. It's going to be fun, too. I can't promise that there will be any horror elements in it, really, but it's a beautiful human story. Ezra Miller, who is still on board to reprise the role of Barry Allen, has been co-writing the latest draft of the script with comics author Grant Morrison. However, we know that WB has decided not to move forward with their version and instead hired Christina Hodson, Bumblebee and Birds of Prey screenwriter, to pen a brand new screenplay. So I guess the word on the street was that if Ezra Miller didn't get a suitable script with Grant Morrison, that he was out, because it was sort of a last-ditch effort, because I think his contract was up. They needed to make the Flash movie or he was out. But I guess they settled on terms for a new contract. They still want Ezra Miller, which I didn't have a problem with Ezra Miller in Batman v Superman, but one wonders if, you know, he doesn't seem very much like Barry Allen. He seems more like Wally West, but they, you know, have cast him as Barry Allen. Let's see. Previous reports indicated that Miller wanted a darker take on the character, which led to conflict with Daley and Goldstein, who were dead set on a lighter tone. It sounds like all parties have found a compromise with the creative team of Muschietti and Hodson, so hopefully the movie actually gets off the ground this time. Prep on The Flash is expected to begin January of 2020. So, I don't know, this is interesting. You know, you would think The Flash would be a lighter character. I don't really think we need a dark Flash movie. Particularly in the vein of, we've already had so many, like, darker storylines and stuff. I don't know. It could work. I mean, you got a lot of good stuff with Flashpoint, and which I don't believe they're going to do, but I mean, there are good Dark Flash stories, but I don't know, Reverse Flash and so on and so forth. I don't think you want to redo the TV show, though. They've already given us, like, what was it, 4 seasons that dealt with the death of his mother, Flash's mother, and his father being in prison. I really don't need any more of that, please. Please just give me a lighter take now at this point. I don't need that. They kind of are moving away from it on the TV show, but if we're going to revisit that all again, which it was kind of not, it wasn't really entertaining in the first place. I think they also need to give the Flash a better costume than this armor suit. That's another thing that bugs me. There's too much black in it. You know what I mean? The Flash is supposed to be like red, sleek, and this is kind of like, I don't know, Stormtrooper armor. That's not the Flash. I don't know. I don't get it, quite frankly. Okay, let's see. Next up we have... Of course, let me know what you think in the comments below. Will the Flash movie ever get off the ground? That is the question we all want to know. Alright, some more news here about the Falcon and Winter Soldier Disney X Plus series. Disney Plus, not X Plus. That's something else. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier series is being written by John Wick franchise writer Derek Kolstad. Talking to Discussing Film's Twitter page, Derek answered some fan questions while revealing some juicy details about the highly awaited series. When one fan asked about the tone of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Kolstad shared, in a post-blip world, while touching upon the darkness of it all, there's got to be some resilient fun to it. Also, there will be a small nod to the John Wick franchise, as Derek tweeted, there's a wink and a nod to the world building of John Wick to be sure. Just a few headshots. There's also been a lot of talk in the Twitterverse about a black Captain America, so when one fan questioned, I am so happy to have Sam Wilson as Captain America. Will reactions to a black Captain America be explored? Kolstad responded, oh yeah, and then some. Dramatic pause is all me. Yeah, this has been a little bit of a subject of consternation, I guess, on Twitter, because this is yet again another sign where the MCU is getting woke, and they're just being woefully woke at this point. Woefully woke in this world of the MCU. So, do we really need to, wallow in this drama? You know what I mean? For him to say and then some, this seems to be a main subject of the show, a major subject. The question is not, can there be a black Captain America? That's obviously a yes. The question is why? Why do we need another Captain America? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't get why every superhero identity needs to be passed as a mantle. I don't understand that. Steve Rogers is Captain America. Now, I've seen the complaint, and I've said it myself, that I think Bucky would be the more, obvious choice to carry on as Captain America because of the brotherly bond that goes back to the 30s, potentially the 20s, and the fact that Bucky is a super soldier, the fact that Bucky needs a new identity because the world sees him as the Winter Soldier, a communist executioner. But I don't want to see the mantle passed to anyone, to be totally honest with you. I don't see why they just can't let Captain America rest, let the mantle lie. The Falcon is the Falcon, and we already talked about this, I believe, last week, where Sam Wilson, Anthony Mackie has said that Sam Wilson is always going to be the Falcon, and that's his persona. I don't understand if this means that he is going to be the Falcon in the costume of Captain America. Is that kind of what it means? He's going to have wings, and he's going to still have the shield and a star-spangled outfit? I don't know exactly how this is going to play. Maybe he's just going to stay witty as Sam Wilson always was. As Captain America, like I said, I don't know what to really make of what they're saying here. I don't think anybody can. I think we're just going to have to see the show and see what they do to it, what they make of it. I think probably But see, the thing that concerns me the most is how woke is it going to be? I mean, do we have to... People go to these things, the movies, and watch these series for escapism. You know what I mean? I want escapism. I don't want to be reminded that there is racism in the world. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to be lectured as well on the evils of white people and how their racism has gone on for 200 years or whatever. This is 2019, or by the time this comes out, I guess 2020. This should be a time when we can unite behind a black superhero, and it's happened already. We've all united behind Black Panther. It made $1 billion for a reason. Everybody, no matter what race or creed or background or whatever you are, went to see that movie because it's a cool character, and you were anticipating an exciting experience, and that's basically all you want when you're faced with your entertainment choices. Give me an entertaining movie, TV show, series, whatever it is, and I'm in. I'm all in. But when you're already giving me the vibes that this is going to be preachy and treachy, and we're going to explore woke culture, and I'm just not interested. You're just going to further and further disinterest me and push me away. Is that what they want to do? I don't know. But that's ultimately what's going to be the case for a lot of people, I think. So let me know what you think in the comments below for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Alright, this is another bit of news that came out last week. I'm afraid I'm not always that topical. I don't get to some of these things until like a week later. I just remembered right now, I forgot to put in my notes, there's going to be a Green Lantern television show. I'm surprised Hunter hasn't asked me about it yet. Maybe he will when he sees this on the rebroadcast. But, yeah, I forgot to look into that. I heard that just yesterday. There was supposed to be one. But I got to look into it. Let's see. But we're going to talk about Legends of Tomorrow. Last week, it was revealed that Brandon Routh and the Mrs., the lovely Courtney Ford, I have to say, I was a fan of hers back in one of the greatest television shows that didn't quite make it, but The Human Target. And she played like a assassin or something in one episode. And unfortunately, she died by the end of that episode, so there was no future for her there. But at that time, I said, wow, she is good as like an action actress or something like that. She'd be great in one of these shows. And they did finally manage to bring her into the recent seasons of Legends of Tomorrow. Of course, her husband being a lead actor on that show probably didn't hurt. But she finally got her shot, and now, unfortunately, both of them are leaving the show. Now, they took to Twitter for a good week and a half, especially Routh, I think, thanking people for the, kindness and everybody wishing them farewell, because apparently they did not ask to leave the show. I think Brandon Routh particularly is a big fanboy, and he loves the show, and he loves doing the, the superhero thing. And, I mean, I love him, too. I think he's great as the Atom. I enjoyed him as Superman. I thought he did a very good Clark Kent. I think out of all the Clark Kent actors we got, after Reeve, he's the best Clark Kent actor. Because he managed to evoke Reeve and that sort of, this is a different persona. This is not just Superman with the glasses. A lot of that, goes back to Reeve, his take on Clark Kent being, klutzy and a little more, most other actors, though, George Reeves, Henry Cavill, I don't know, maybe Dean Cain, they all kind of played Clark Kent as sort of a, less macho version, if you will, of Superman. It's just like, oh, yeah, I'm doing my job. It's, nothing. And but you could kind of feel that there was two different people in the Christopher Reeve and the Brandon Routh versions of Clark Kent. You couldn't really mistake one for the other. So yeah, unfortunately, they are being shown the door as the showrunners, the show heads, or whatever, have written them out of the show. I'll get to the reasons why I think that in a minute. Let me get to the copy here. Season 5 will mark the end of the line for Brandon Routh, who plays Ray Palmer, the Atom, and Courtney Ford, who plays Nora Dark on the CW series. Executive producers Phil Klimmer, Gryan Godfrey, and Ketso Sumzu told Deadline that Brandon and Courtney have been invaluable members of the Legends family. They have always brought a level of passion and collaboration to their characters and to the show, both on and off the screen. That we deeply admire and for which we are eternally grateful. Klimmer, Godfrey, and Shimizu further said, as one of the founding Legends of Tomorrow, Brandon is extremely beloved by the fans and everyone on the show. There is an exception in this case of Brandon and Courtney leaving. They aren't leaving of their own volition like most actors seem to do. Yeah, see, you got to remember, Martin Stein, he left the show because, I'm blanking on the actor's name. He wanted to leave the show. He wanted to do Broadway or whatever, and the other half of him, I can't remember that actor either, but I think he left mostly because there was no place for him with his counterpart gone. So in a way, I don't know if he wanted to leave either, but this is kind of a first. Usually it's when, they want to leave. The only time I've seen this happen before, and there was a big backlash over it, was Katie Lotz. And, I'm sure she would have loved to stay with Arrow as Black Canary, and I would have loved it even more. I honestly would have. I would have preferred if she was the Black Canary on that show. And it probably would have gone a different direction, that show, but, Monday morning quarterbacking, a little too late at this point. And the furor and outcry was such that it was like, well, let's bring her back. Of course, we're in a fantastical world of Arrow where we can do anything. Let's bring her back and give her own show eventually. And that worked out. So I'm thinking quite obviously that they're going to get their... I don't know if they're going to get their own show, but I feel quite confident in predicting that they are going to show up elsewhere, because they still want the gig, and they're still fan favorites. Everybody really liked... That's the sad thing, is I think as bad as Legends were last year, I think one of the bright spots was Brandon Routh, and also, his relationship with Nate. A lot of people call it the bromance, and since they're two already established heterosexual characters, they can't really turn them into a romance, which I'm sure they would. But let's be honest. Let's be honest here. Let us put our honesty helmets on for just a moment. And I think that is part of the reason why they're leaving, is because they are a heterosexual couple. We have Ray and Nora now, being a couple. And that is not trendy on the CW. That is not trendy in the Greg Berlanti Arrowverse. If we're still calling it that, I'm not sure, because, Arrow's one season removed from being done. But to the demographic they're pandering to, there is no room for a good old-fashioned romantic heterosexual couple. Now, we're leaving Oliver and Felicity behind now. That's over with. We still have Barry and Iris, which, in all honesty, I think that is so split. I think a lot of people would rather see Barry with Caitlin, and I would too, although, to be honest with you, it's just one of those things where I don't know, does every superhero really need a fixed love interest? I don't know. The Flash never struck me as one that kind of, he wasn't a Peter Parker that needed a Mary Jane or a Superman with a Lois Lane. He didn't really have a significant other that was as important as he was in the strip. But I digress. So that's honestly what I think is happening. I think it's like, well, there's no room for a heterosexual couple in Legends of Tomorrow. We have to focus on Ava and White Canary. I'm forgetting her name right now. We got to focus on them, and we don't want to take any focus off of them as the love interests. I don't know. I think that they would probably try to find a place, because I think what's going to happen, I think, honestly, the Legends is winding down. I don't think Legends is going to be around for a whole heck of a lot longer. They probably have... I think maybe just this last season. I don't know if they have more than that. I think the only one who's safe, honestly, is the Flash. He is probably going to go until Grant Gustin says no mas. But I think Legends is on the downward trend. Supergirl on the downward trend. I would even say Black Lightning probably This is going to be, what, his 3rd season? I think unless they are going to fully hop on board that crossover train, which I think reportedly they are. After Crisis, they're all going to be cross-pollinating each show. I think then he might get an uptick of, a little bit more of a chance for going on for another season. But I think this probably could be the last season for their show as well. Batwoman is anyone's guess. I think Batwoman is probably going to be successful only for 2 reasons. For curiosity's sake. I think a lot of people are going to tune in expecting to either hate it or want to lampoon it or whatever. And another half of the people are going to just watch it because it's connected to Batman. I think we've seen that with Gotham. I think we've seen, like, they're not giving us Batman. They're not giving us a faithful representation of the Batman world, but because it is related to Batman, we're going to tune in. I'm going to watch it basically for the reason, the aforementioned, it's a curiosity. I don't want to watch it just to bash it. I don't believe in, like, hate watching a show. A lot of people do that, particularly in the wrestling community, I notice. They watch it just to complain about it. But it's difficult because there's so many good shows on and coming on. We've also got the Disney Plus stuff coming on, The Mandalorian and different things like that. Do you really have time to watch everything? Honestly, something's going to give eventually, and it's probably going to be with Batwoman. I don't know. But anyway, to finish the article here, let's see. As for the possibility of the duo returning, the producers said, "Of course, when we have had main characters in the past whose journeys take them away from the Wave Rider, it's never truly goodbye. We love these characters and hope to check in with them in future seasons to see how life off the ship has transformed them for better or worse." That's kind of interesting. He's being pretty, or they are being pretty optimistic about there being future seasons. I think they're probably going to wind up disbanding the Legends at the end of the season, or possibly next season. And they're going to go their separate ways. Some of them are going to go on to other shows. Others are going to probably, I don't know if there's going to be a new show. If there's going to be a new show, it might feature them. Like, I can see there being another team-up show once Legends is over, and seeing, like, Ray fitting in well there. Maybe bringing along White Canary, and I don't know, Mick could probably go back to being on The Flash as a sometime antagonist. I'm not sure. But yeah, I fully see them continuing on in some form. These actors that want to continue on anyway. Brandon Routh said, "I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to bring the big-hearted and humorous Ray Palmer to life for our fans over the last 5 years. But unfortunately, his storyline is pointed in another direction. I'm saddened to see Ray's journey end, for now, but wish my Legends family well." Courtney Ford. It says Courtney Fort. That's garbage tier. Courtney Ford Routh. In her statement said, "Nora Dark is very close to my heart. If it were my choice, I'd play her for years to come, but I understand that stories run their course, and I'm grateful for the time I did have." This is kind of also garbage tier. I don't know if there was supposed to be a period here, but we'll read this line again. "I understand that stories run their course, and I'm grateful for the time I did have fun bringing Nora to life on Legends of Tomorrow. Their final episode is scheduled to film in October. Legends will return in 2020 on the small screen." So, let me know what you think. Do you think we will see Brandon Routh and Courtney Ford again in the Arrowverse at some point? In an ongoing capacity. I mean, I'm sure they would bring them back for an episode or two, but people didn't like the Hawkman and Hawkwoman thing, and that's why they never came back. But I think fans enjoyed Ray enough that they're going to want him back, and I think that it's really helpful that Routh and Ford have expressed unequivocally that they love the roles, they want to continue on, they would stay on the show for years if they could. So I think we will see them again, and it's just a matter of where. That's my belief anyway. All right, before we round down here and wrap up, let's take a look at. We've got some images here from Birds of Prey. Now, there was supposedly going to be a trailer out. I don't know if it's coming out soon or it's out this weekend. But it's only a 40-second trailer, and it's only going to be in theaters, which is dumb. It's plain out dumb, because any guy with a cell phone is just going to record it off the screen and post it on YouTube the same day. So why would you only put it in theaters so that we will have a crappy, low-res, low-quality trailer to go by? Especially when this film has been under such, negative scrutiny over the past couple of weeks, over the last month or so. I would say try to put your best foot forward and show something good. Show us something good. Being quite honest, I am not looking forward to this film. If you do not know, am not a fan of R-rated material. Particularly it has its place on some level. I do own R-rated movies. I have watched R-rated movies. But in the realm of the comic book, I believe that they should be all ages. I don't think you should, ostracize a certain segment of the audience. You're ostracizing children, or for lack of a better term, ostracizing. You're limiting your audience. Let's put it that way. And these characters were originally created to be for children, and we're going to get into this probably more with the Joker trailer, I suppose. But I'm already giving vent to the frustration here. But I've said this all along. You don't grow interest in comics and stuff if you take the tact that children can't see them. I made a video. One of the first videos, the first soapbox I did was called "Our Comic Book Film's Gonna Go the Way of the Western," and I was very proud of it because I think it did touch on something that a lot of people, they talk about, but they don't fully understand. A lot of people say, well, the comic book films, they're going to go the way of the Western. People are going to get tired of them. They're sort of all over the place. There's too many of them. Some of them not in good quality, and they're going to just peter out. Nobody's going to watch them anymore. My impression has always been the reason why the Western disappeared was because of the deconstruction of the Western in the 70s. It started in the mid-late 60s maybe, but it turned out that in the 70s you had some, homages, some tributes to the Western with, Apple Dumpling Gang and stuff for kids, but there wasn't really the action hero anymore. See, in the old days, if you were a kid in the 30s or something, you grew up either wanting to be Superman or the Lone Ranger. Nowadays, it's like, Batman, Spider-Man, stuff like that. But in those days, you wanted to be either a superhero or a cowboy. And the thing was, pretty much limited to that. I mean, maybe there was some kids that were the very neo-sci-fi stuff like Flash Gordon or something. I'm going to be Buck Rogers, something like that. But basically, the Western was as important as comics. And when did the Western fade away? It was in the 70s. When they started deconstructing the Western. The Western hero was not the good guy anymore. He was a complex character. He didn't wear a white hat. He was fighting against the institutions that wronged him, his country. Again, it's sort of the equivalent of them getting woke with the Western. It was like, in the 70s we couldn't trust the government and this and that, and they kind of did the same thing in the Western. Then it became, the Western, you couldn't take your kids to see the Western because the Westerns were full of rapists and people who were vicious, and the bad guys were just, deplorable to the point of a caricature. There was no just simple bad guys anymore. It was these people were despicable. And that also, it's from the time. It's a product of the times when we had things like Death Wish and you know, all that stuff where it was seeing people being as depraved as possible, and, you know, you are driving away the young audience, the child audience. And I have said the surest way to kill the comic book movie genre is to, you know, is to limit it from the child audience. Once you can't take your kids to see a superhero movie anymore, the superhero box office will suffer. They will stop making them. And again, Hollywood will take that as it being passé, and people will sort of move on to the next thing. I don't know what the next thing would be. In the case of the Western, it was a long crawl to get to where superheroes sort of overtook where the Western used to be. I think sci-fi probably supplanted the Western, with Star Wars being the closest thing to the Western that we had, and the sci-fi genre kind of had a boost, you know, during the 80s and 90s because of it. Anyway, yeah, that's my feeling on it. I don't believe that comic book movies should be rated R. I think even in the case of things like Logan, they didn't need to be as dark. They didn't need to be as violent or have cursing. I don't think Deadpool needed to be that vulgar. You could be funny without being vulgar. And so that's my take on it. You know, you can agree or disagree, but I think you limit yourself. You always go for the biggest audience. As a comic book writer, I think that for my own business sake, you always go for the biggest audience. You don't want to just limit yourself to a niche and say, well, this is just for the, you know, the 18 to 25-year-olds or something that like this because it's hot at the moment. No, you got to go for a timeless quality. Anyway, I realize I'm going on and on here. That's why these shows end up lasting the better part of an hour. But, so the Harley Quinn, well, the Birds of Prey, the fantabulous emancipation of the one Harley Quinn, or whatever the name of it is, something to that effect, is going to be out as a teaser trailer apparently soon. And we've got some images from it, apparently. Here's my favorite image. We get to see Harley eating a grilled cheese sandwich, it looks like. I was so fascinated by that. I like to know what she's eating. That's what that's what I'm most interested in. What does Harley Quinn eat in the way of Reubens, hoagies, Paneras, whatever they call them? I'm curious about those things. I mean it. What is she like, you know? Can you imagine taking Harley Quinn on a date and then trying to find out what she likes to eat? I don't know. She likes, I don't know. It looks like a grilled cheese sandwich to me. I'm not sure. And she got the crazy outfit on. It looks like to her right, our left, it could be a hyena, one of those hyenas. I don't know. But, yeah, again, this kind of disappoints me because I really am looking forward to seeing Margot Robbie again. They made us wait, like, what is it going to be, 5 years by the time she's finally Harley Quinn again? She was so good in that role. I know my brother finally saw Suicide Squad, and he said she was basically the best thing about that movie. And I think a lot of people feel the same way. I kind of like the movie. I didn't think it was as bad as a lot of people make it out to be, but it seems weird that they are, I don't know, sitting on this potentially big franchise. But she is going to have, I think, back-to-back movies because James Gunn's The Suicide Squad will be following hard on the trail. I know that's also something I skipped in the news, but I think Taika Waititi is going to be playing a role, I think, in Suicide Squad 2. I didn't look into it, but again, I'm thinking this is just going to be a voice acting role. It's probably going to be, I don't know, we already said maybe last week we were talking about King Shark being played by I used to pride myself on having the greatest memory for names. I can't remember names anymore, but, you know, the guy from Castle. He was, we were thinking he was probably going to be playing the voice of King Shark. I don't know who Taika Waititi would play then. I don't know who else they're having in the movie that's going to be probably predominantly CGI. But yeah, Taika Waititi is supposedly in the Suicide Squad 2. And along with Margot Robbie, the lovely Margot Robbie. This looks to me, this image, I think this betrays, before we move on here, I think this betrays the fact that they're saying that she's going to sort of narrate this film. It's going to be from her POV, and she is probably going to talk to the camera and say things like, oh, wow, this is a delicious corned beef sandwich, and life is so great now that I'm away from Mr. J, even though she is an obsessed groupie that is madly in love with him, and they're trying to take her away from that now and make her her own woman and character, and I just don't see it. I don't know. Like I said this before, but I think you can have Harley on her own if you do it right. I forget what it was. Harley's Holiday, is that the name of the episode? They did 1 or 2 episodes where it was just Harley, and you can do it, but I think you kind of lose something if you take her away from Mr. J. But you got to make that relationship be in the right context. You know, I mean, Harley was always a Joker groupie. And he sort of ran the gambit from tolerating her to sort of finding her a nuisance. And, you know, they went a different way in the Suicide Squad. I don't know. I mean, they tried to make them like this madly in love couple. I think the secret to their relationship is you don't put it too far at either end of the spectrum. You don't make the Joker madly in love with Harley. At the same time, you don't make the Joker so abusive and depraved that you question Harley. Obviously, she's not, you know, a mental giant by any means, but I mean, you question why she would be there. What does she see in him if he is just so outright abusive? So I think there's an extreme that they go in either direction. I don't think it should go in either direction. I think Paul Dini, who created Harley, basically explained it this way, and I think obviously this is the default setting for their relationship. It's that the Joker sees that Harley is, you know, hugely invested in him. She's madly in love with him. And the joke to him is to sort of keep stringing her along. But he shows her just enough affection to keep her, you know, mildly interested. But at the same time, he is not accessible to her emotionally. And that to him is the biggest joke. He is, of course, the Joker. And the joke is on her that she, you know, he's in a sense leading her on, and she's sort of, it's sad, but it's sort of, the joke is on her that she thinks that there will be a future with him someday, and there never will be, because the Joker cannot, let's face it, the Joker cannot feel anything for anybody. So, yeah, that's the desired outcome, I think, of their relationship, and particularly on film. I don't know if they're gonna get to that at some point. All right, let's see. Wait a second. All right, here we go. This is Harley. This is some weird Psycho Circus. I don't know. I can't make out what this could be. There's a guy with no shirt on in the back, prone, face down on the ground. She looks like she's holding her baseball bat, about to fling it at somebody. I think there's another image where you can actually see the hand of the guy that she's throwing it at from the back. I don't know what this is. Some crazy strip club? I don't know. I have no idea what they're going to try to do. I don't know. It's an interesting setting, but again, I have very little faith. Very little faith. Alright, let's take a look at Black Canary. Again, Black Canary very much leaving me cold. She does not look like the Black Canary whatsoever in what we've seen. And, you know, it's not just that they race change the character, which, again, if you know anything about me, you know that I hate when they race change characters. But, I mean, from what we've seen, she's wearing street clothes kind of all the time. I don't really see her. They don't show her in the Black Canary outfit. At least they haven't yet. Maybe they're saving that as some kind of reveal. I don't imagine that she will look very much like the comic Black Canary. Because Huntress is wearing a similar sort of black leather outfit or something. I don't know. This is Junie Smollett. I think that's her name. And she's, I think, kicking somebody in the scene. That's why she's got her back turned. Again, I don't know. Black Canary is a character that I really like and enjoy a lot. One of my favorite characters, female characters, probably from DC. And again, if this is going to be the default Black Canary version we get now going forward in the DCEU, I am disappointed. And it's sad that they're potentially ruining a lot of characters this way. Here is the aforementioned Huntress. Again, kind of not wearing a recognizable costume. It doesn't look very much like the Huntress. I mean, again, you know, it's wokeness, it's SJW. They're not going to put her in the bare midriff outfit with a cape and this and that, which it's the same thing with the Black Canary. They're not going to give her the fishnet stockings. It's sad, but it's kind of where we're at now in the, you know, in the realm of SJW cinema. She looks a lot here. This is Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She looks a lot here like Alex from Supergirl. If you ask me, that's what she looks like, Alex from Supergirl. Yeah, let's continue on. Let's, I'm sure you don't want to hear me grumble and complain anymore. But yeah, that's about all we have for Birds of Prey. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you interested in the film? Are you excited in any way? Do you think this is going to turn out to be something special? Or is this just sort of a misguided comedy? Again, spoilers, but if you've heard the rumors, I suppose, what we gotta call them, of the film being about, I don't know, Cassandra Cain swallowing a diamond that has nudie pictures of Black Mask on it. It just doesn't sound to me like this is going to be my cup of tea. And you know what else is probably not going to be my cup of tea? In the opposite direction, the Joker. Joker film, again, I can't say that I am wildly optimistic in it. I think whereas Birds of Prey are trying to do the Deadpool route, they're probably, you know, they're trying to make it funny, and they're trying to make it a comedy, and they're trying to make it, you know, farcical to some extent and humorous. We have the Joker that's going in the opposite direction, where it's obviously Oscar bait. They are desperately trying to remake, you know, Scorsese-era Taxi Driver mixed with King of Comedy and adding the Joker into it and making it, you know, an Oscar contender. My question to everybody is, if you saw this trailer without the name of it being the Joker attached, would you still be as interested? I don't know if maybe they personified the character differently, would it be getting the same amount of attention? Like, for instance, let's say maybe he wasn't wearing clown makeup. What if they made him dress as, I don't know, a lion tamer, a bullfighter, I don't know. Just pick some other crazy thing and just imagine that was what he was going with as a persona. Would it be as popular? I don't know. I think it's just basically taking a Scorsese-esque theme and then trying to run with it as, you know, a beloved DC character. Now, again, I see on Twitter a lot of stands for this movie are basically coming out in full force against people like myself that are not crazy about the idea, and I say fully, I don't, as much as I'm not crazy about this, I don't sort of curse its creation and hope for its failure, as much as I said, you're not really doing, this is just a niche film. This is not going to influence comicdom either way, but you're not going to garner a good following, a popular audience, if you're going to keep, you know, segmenting your films and keeping all ages away from them. You know, you can't make an all-ages film. You are limiting your audience. Again, not to belabor the point. I am a fan, probably the only film I'm a fan of Martin Scorsese is King of Comedy. That's not to say he doesn't have a couple of films that are pretty good, but again, I'm not into that sort of dark and retro thing. I think King of Comedy wasn't as dark as Taxi Driver, obviously, and some of the other things that he did. You know, he did some other good films, Raging Bull. But King of Comedy is the only one that I come back to and I watch again, and I do like that kind of that scenario. And I think they're putting the same scenario here with the Joker, where it's sort of you know, a guy in his own world, and he sort of, you know, ends up making something of himself in spite of himself. The problem that I have with them doing that with the Joker is that the Joker, again, they're making an origin for the Joker that may or may not spit on the established lore of the character. Let's take a look at, for instance, Thomas Wayne. Now, we have the scene here in the trailer of him punching out Arthur. And again, they're trying to make Thomas Wayne the villain in this film, it seems like. Now, there is a rumor that Thomas Wayne is going to be the father of Arthur, and it may or may not be true, or at least Arthur thinks this, and it may or may not be true. Now, of course, we don't know from the trailer. It might be Thomas is punching him for some completely different reason, a valid reason. But again, they're setting it up where it seems like Thomas Wayne is the villain. It seems like he is... We're told he's running for mayor, and he is sort of... It feels very much like they're trying to take a page out of The Dark Knight Rises, where the 1% is sort of holding the rest of Gotham down in sort of a Dickinson, you know, or Dickensian setting, where the haves are lording it over the have-nots, and the Joker somehow becomes this lightning rod or something that assembles a lot of the have-nots together to, you know, to sort of cause an uprising, to cause riots and stuff. Again, it feels like we've seen this before, and this is not really something that appeals to me to begin with. I thought it was a little overblown in The Dark Knight Rises, which I just watched recently, by the way. Not a bad film by any means, but I don't know, it was still lacking. Anyway, so yeah, so I think that's one of the things that bother me about this is the sort of the treatment of Thomas Wayne in this. Let's see some more images here. We've got... This is a funny scene. It looks like... I don't know if he's hired to do this or he just decides to go visit a children's ward. And at the beginning of the trailer, we see him with a little kid and trying to make a little kid laugh. And I think that the idea here is that, you know, he's a failed comic and he wants to try to make people laugh. And the only ways that he's getting any positive reaction is from children. And again, you know, you can take this in as depraved a way as you want it, but it makes you wonder, you know, is children his main audience here? I don't know where that lies. I'll let that be your decision. Let's see. We have also, apparently, from what we hear, Arthur has a mental illness where he laughs uncontrollably at the most inopportune times. And, again, I don't know, is that necessary for the Joker? I don't know. I mean, I don't feel that the Joker needs an origin in the first place. I don't feel that we need to have a reason for the Joker. He's supposed to be a force of nature, and to give him an origin and to make him as sympathetic as they're making him, I don't think the Joker should be sympathetic. I think the Joker should be fun. I've said this many times, and I'm sure people are tired of hearing me say it, but we haven't had a fun Joker since probably Nicholson. And that's not to say that the Batman 89 was always problematic to me. I hated the fact that they gave him an origin. I hated the fact that he was, you know, the killer of the Waynes, but Nicholson still portrayed the Joker as the Silver Age grinning gargoyle, you know, still murderous, but then again with humorous intent. You know, he'll kill you with a electric joy buzzer, things like that. We don't get that anymore, and unfortunately, it's been 30 years. I don't know when we're going to get that ever again, because the modus operandi seems to be always to make the Joker as depraved as possible. I don't particularly like that version of the Joker. They have The Dark Knight, which Heath Ledger, of course, did a great job. I enjoy The Dark Knight. I think it might be a tad overrated, but it's still a great film, and it's still a very positive depiction of the Joker and what he was originally supposed to be. The relationship between Batman and the Joker in that film is second to none. They have not really met that, and obviously they definitely haven't surpassed it, that relationship. I think it's all summed up in like 2 lines of dialogue. One from the Joker, "I don't want to kill you, what would I do without you?" And then from the Batman, "It's not that simple with the Joker, it never is." And it's just a battle of wits between the Joker and Batman, and that's what they gave us in The Dark Knight. Now, they didn't give us a fun Joker as much, because he was still basically just killing with knives and guns and gasoline and bombs and stuff. And, of course, it was placed at a time when terrorism, the war on terror was the thing, and the Joker was seen as sort of the ultimate terrorist. That's where I break from the way he was depicted. It was trying to make a political statement that I don't think you use with the Joker. But again, that's the best depiction of the Joker relationship to Batman. Here we have a picture. Here we see an image of Arthur. I think he's probably at his mother's funeral here, because I think we see him in the the intensive care ward or whatever, with his mother all on respirators and everything, and he's watching the television screen. And let's see, he sees Bobby De Niro doing the Johnny Carson thing, and it's interesting because it looks almost like a reverse of, well, I don't know, it still feels very much like King of Comedy, but it seems like, I don't know, I suppose maybe Arthur sent the tape of his stand-up act to Bobby De Niro, and then De Niro decided to use it to lampoon him on television. And this is also what kind of sparks the crazy, mad, revenge that Arthur seems to go after here. We also see, let's see, this is Arthur in therapy at the beginning of it. It seems like he's got problems, and he's not getting any help. He's not getting the help he needs anyway, because he says all he has is negative thoughts. And obviously, this is a problem that he's gone through before, the Robert De Niro and all that situation. So, yeah, what do I think? I don't know. I mean, again, this is probably not my cup of tea. I would probably check it out on cable. And we have at the end of it there, all through the trailer, we see him causing mischief and all kinds of rioting and stuff. And then he asks of Bobby De Niro to introduce him as the Joker. And that's sort of the thing that everybody remembers, is that now, oh yeah, he's adopting the identity of the Joker. This is not like a situation with Venom. You know what I mean? This is not a situation where it could eventually tie into a Batman movie. This is just a standalone thing. That's why I said it's really not necessary, this film. This film is not necessary, and all it is going to do is probably just generate Oscar buzz, and it's probably going to confuse a lot of people going forward with, well, why isn't Joaquin Phoenix the Joker now? That Joker movie came out. We've seen his origin. Now where's Batman? But again, this can't really link up with Batman anyway, because this is a 1980s Joker, and Batman is, I don't know what he is, 8 years old in this film, something like that. Which again, I guess you could link this up to maybe the Ben Affleck Batman, if anything. I don't know. But again, I would check it out on cable. I'm probably not going to see this. This is not really what I want from my superhero movies. I don't know. It's possibly, could be interesting, probably disturbing. I think they introduced it at the Cannes Film Festival today, I believe, and it's getting rave reviews, of course, and standing ovations. So, there you have it. It is what it is, I guess, as we are wont to say here on Johnny Torch Live. So, thank you once again for joining me. Make sure you leave a comment below and let me know what you think about the Joker movie going to be out very soon. What do you think about Birds of Prey? What do you think about Venom 2? What do you think about the future of Legends of Tomorrow? All that stuff we've talked about. Let me know in the comments below. Please check out the link in the description. You'll find the link there to the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye website. You can check out some of the preview pages I've put up. And we are going to be at Granite State Con September 14th and 15th. Love to see you there. We are looking forward to it. Probably not going to do a live show, of course, on the 14th. You're going to be able to meet yours truly in person, though. So it is, trust me, it's a effective trade-off. And, you know, I'll be happy to see a lot of people show up that know me from the YouTube channel, because I don't think enough people know me from the YouTube channel. I try to let people know when I'm at these conventions that I am a YouTube personality. But again, I'm just you know, I can't seem to get those recorded videos going, so I'm just doing live streams. And YouTube hates live streams. They don't popularize them. You know, they don't put them into you know, the recommends very much. So it is kind of fighting a losing battle in that way. But love to see y'all there at Granite State Con. Check out the link in the description for my Twitter page. And I don't think we have any polls going right now, but you know, we do poll of the week questions, so we might have one of them up for you in the coming week. Also, let's see, what else do we got going on? Well, I'm gonna try to do, like I said last week, I don't know if I'm gonna do an Indiegogo for the new remaster of Bullets Bourbon. I imagine I will, even though the the last Indiegogo wasn't successful. But I think I've got to push a little more promotionally this time. I've got to see if I can get some promotion that is successful going. So we're going to look into that. But the work on the remaster, our second Bullets Bourbon Chronicles remaster, is coming along nicely. It is doing pretty well. Still on pace for the end of the year. For it to come out. Unfortunately, won't be in time for the convention on the 14th, but, you know, as long as we chip away at that marble stone, the statue will emerge eventually. That's the way I have to look at it, because, you know, it's kind of frustrating. I've got so many issues that I would just love to have already done, and in a sense, I want to do it myself. I don't want to hire people to color these issues and edit them and so on and so forth. I want to do as much of the work as possible. You know, Michelangelo didn't point at a statue and say, somebody else do that. You know what I mean? You have to take the time and the effort and the responsibility of making it yourself. Otherwise, it's not really you making it, I suppose, from an artistic standpoint, you know. But unless, of course, you want to collaborate, which is a different subject on its own, but I'm talking about sort of work for hire and just saying, do this. If you want to collaborate with somebody, that's a different story, because they have as much input. But that's the thing. I am not into collaborating. I would just be hiring someone as an extra set of hands, and that's kind of not where I like to be as an artist. I want to be doing it very much hands-on myself. So if you have anything, like I said, any comments that you want to direct to yours truly, I will be happy to address them in a subsequent broadcast, probably next week's show. And as always, God love you for being here. I appreciate every single view I get. I appreciate every reader I get. And I admire those of you who have stuck with me through this entire, what is it on now? 1 hour and 9 minute broadcast. So thank you so very much for being here. And as always, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.